Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower LEP podcast. I'm your host, Jana Parker, licensed educational psychologist, group practice owner and mentor at Empower LEP. Today, I host Kierra Shirley, a school psychologist and LEP who resides in New York State. Kierra is taking advantage of the California LEP and doing some telehealth services until she moves to California in the future. Kierra also wrote a children's book about learning, which is an incredible resource for parents and children. Listen in to hear about Kierra and her entrepreneurial spirit. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Welcome back to the Empower LEP podcast. I am here today with Kierra Shirley. Welcome, Kierra.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to interview you because you have a really unique thing going on.
I do.
Yeah. So, you know what? I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to so Kierra, tell us about you and your LEP practice.
Okay. Well, to start, I am a baby LEP. So I only got my LEP this past February. And so I'm still learning and still growing my practice. But I am located in New York. I'm a practicing school psychologist in New York City public schools. And I ended up becoming an LEP because, my husband and I got married in 2022, and we were sort of thinking about where do we want to put down roots? Where are we going to live? And California is a place that is really near and dear to my heart. My grandparents are out there. Some of my best friends are out there. And so, we're planning to make a move there eventually. And so I was looking into what will my career look like out there?
Yeah.
And I had actually never heard of an LEP, which I think is not uncommon.
Right.
So I went through the process of getting certified in California as a school psychologist first. Using my experience here and my education here, I was able to transfer that credential pretty easily. And then in that process, I learned about an LEP, and I was like, wow, that's incredible, because we don't have that here in New York. We don't have an option for private practice. And so I was like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
So then I took the test and I got my LEP. And so I'm in the process of starting my baby LEP business.
Wait, hold on. Let me go back a little bit. So
Sure.
you, did you have any, because we get people asking, who are thinking about moving out to California, was there anything additional you had to do with your credentialing process or your LEP process? Would you have even had to have gotten a credential? Could you have just gotten an LEP? Is there anything that anybody who is thinking of moving in-state from out of state, who's a school psychologist, anything you would think they need to know to make the process easier for them?
Sure. So I don't quote me on this, but I believe that having my California school psych credential was required to then get my LEP.
Okay.
I didn't have to do anything additional. It was just a matter of them reviewing my transcripts and making sure that my education was up to the same standards as California has. And then there's also an experience requirement. And so you had to be practicing for, I think it was 2 years as a school psychologist in order to be able to apply for your LEP. And so, it was a pretty easy process, except you have to gather all of the documentation, right, that you might not have had. And I had to request my undergrad transcripts, my graduate school transcripts. I had to get sign off of my experience from my current employers and things like that, which, it was a typical paperwork process, but nothing too difficult. And then in terms of the LEP, that was also just the experience requirement, the same level of experience as everybody else. And then I had to apply to take the exam, and they reviewed my credentials. They actually called me because they were like, we have not seen a transcript like this. We usually get transcripts from people who are in California. And so they had to review my transcript to make sure that I met the credential requirements. And then they approved me to take the exam, and then they issued me the license within a couple of weeks after I passed the exam. It was all a very fast process after the initial application. That took a little bit of time.
Yes.
But yeah, it wasn't too difficult. I would say just, keep your paperwork handy, keep it up to date so that, if that's something that you're looking for, you don't have to go searching through it, and you don't have to, request transcripts from the school you went to like 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So now you have your LEP, so then you think, I'm going to start a practice in California, which I did not realize that you could do, but tell us about that.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that I could do it either, until I took the telehealth training that I had to take as part of this whole process.
Actually, people are wondering, like, that we get this question a lot too, like, where did you take your telehealth training? Because we know, we use our California Association of School Psychologists, but like, did you find what did you take?
I did mine remotely. I can't remember the company that I did it through, but it was just online, and it was one of the ones that were listed as, one that was credentialed by the board or approved by the board.
Got it. Okay.
But yeah, it was just like a standard course. I think it had to be a certain amount of hours.
I think 3 hours or something.
Yeah. But it wasn't anything special, and it was just online. It was pretty easy, but it was really helpful in that, like, it provided all of the outlines of these are the things we're allowed to do in this new telehealth world. And one of the things that I learned, and one of the things that I had to then continue to research to make sure that it was ethical and legal, was that if you are licensed in the state of California, you can provide teletherapy services from another state, as long as your client is physically located in California and you're following all of the regulations of a provider in California. And so once I learned that, I was like, wow, I don't know when my move is going to happen, but I can start and, make a little bit of extra money and sort of start to build out a community and a practice before I get there, to make the process a little bit easier, And so, I'm not doing any testing or anything like that. That's not something that I would do virtually, but just counseling, some executive functioning coaching, and some Minecraft-based therapy are things that I have found work in a virtual format.
Tell me a little bit about Minecraft-based therapy. What? I have never heard of this before.
Yeah. So is
it an actual thing? Did you make it up?
I did not make it up. There's a clinician actually based out of the UK. I think her name is Ellie Finch.
Okay.
And I didn't find it from her, but once I thought of it, I was researching it, and I found that she does do this.
Huh.
And so I have to backtrack a little bit to tell you how I got into this. So my internship year of my grad school experience was COVID. And so in, March of my internship, I was working at a charter elementary school, and all of a sudden we went from in-person to virtual, and I had a caseload of elementary school students who I needed to provide at-risk counseling to. And I'm like, what do I do? And I had been doing a little bit of Minecraft with some of my counseling students, some of my like check-in, check-out students. They would do a little bit of a little bit of Minecraft at the end of the day if they met their goals. And I was like, how can I turn this into something that's therapeutic and something that is, a teachable system. And have you ever played Minecraft?
No.
But do you
tell me about it? I've seen it. Yeah. But you make cities and you build things and you create things, right?
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. But I would say like 7 out of 10 times when I ask my students, like, what do you like to do? What do you do for fun at home? It's like Minecraft, Roblox,
right.
all of those things. And, our profession is all about meeting our kids where they're at, right? And so I found that meeting them in the game is something that I don't think adults do with them often. And Minecraft is a sandbox game, right? And so I often compare it to actual sandbox therapy. And use it in a very similar way. And like, I have the kids create like a safe space for themselves during the first session and like put in whatever you want to put in there and like make it a place that's your own. And then we can work on problem solving skills. We can work on planning skills. We have to plan the structure that you want to build. What materials do we need? What steps do we need to take to accomplish this goal that you have? Frustration tolerance. There's creatures that will come and like explode the thing that you just worked so hard on and you spent so much time building. Like, how do we work through that? How do we deal with that?
I love this.
Yeah. So I think it's just a way to maybe make it a little bit more approachable to work on some of these difficult topics with kids who might otherwise be resistant to some of the therapeutic concepts. And I think it's kind of nice for parents as well, because they're like, my kid is spending so much time on this game, and like I'm like, there can be value in that, like there can be therapeutic work that can be done in the thing that they enjoy.
Are you a character in there with them, or you're just playing alongside them?
Yes, I'm also a character in there with them. They have their own world that nobody else can go in, but besides the two of us. And it's something that we can build upon week to week and do different activities, build different cities, like you said, and plan different activities. So it's a very open concept. And then you can also there's an ability for kids to sort of work through things, in a different sort of way. So like, how is, if your friend did this to you, or if this happened to you in school, what would you do? And how would you handle that? And I find it to be just a really interesting tool to use to engage lots of different types of students.
Yeah, that's so cool. You should do a talk at NASP on this.
That would be interesting.
You should. Yeah, they're accepting proposals. I'm about to write one. They're accepting proposals to June 10th or something. You should put something
have to get on it.
Yeah, you better get on. But I mean, you should do it. You put in a little mini skill, something. This is such a cool thing that you're doing. I think people really like it.
I think, yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, it's something that I'm still, refining and figuring out as I go along. And I think part of it is that I also have played Minecraft in my own capacity, with my friends in college. And so I have a background knowledge that some clinicians might not have. So even that is valuable to introduce this concept. So yeah, I definitely would be interested in that.
You should do it. You should.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be
fun. Do you go to NIASP?
I have not been to NIASP. I've wanted to go, but the dates never work out for me. But
I'm going to be at NIASP this year. I'm presenting something in reading. Yeah.
Oh, what are you presenting?
Secret? No. This isn't about me. This is podcast you. I'm presenting on science of reading based assessment and intervention. Yeah. So I'm presenting with the co-host or co-presenter, Michelle Story. So I'm really excited. We presented at NASP earlier this year, or was that last year? February this year. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do NIASP. She's she's really active in NIASP. So
yeah, I've been meaning to go. The conventions always end up being at a time when I'm so busy. So yeah. I went to NASP in Chicago a few years ago, but I haven't been able to make it back, but definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah. Well, if you're presenting in Seattle, you have to go. You just have to tell your director, sorry, I'm presenting on Minecraft-based therapy.
That's true. It's a good excuse to go.
Yeah. Well, you better look it up after, because I think you should do this. This is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah. So okay. So you are so tell me about how you have developed a business in California while not being in California. Tell me about what steps have you gone through? How did you set up a website? You must have set up a business. Is your business in where's your business address located? So interesting. Go ahead.
So again, all in the beginning stages, and I actually signed up for your LEP Launchpad
Dude, were
program.
you there this week?
I was.
Okay, that's how like good. Okay, wonderful. Was your face there?
No, I was multitasking, so
Okay.
I was not on camera. But
Because I would have remembered your face, but like, I can only see a couple boxes and they've been present. Okay, so well, good. I'm so glad, happy to have you in Launchpad.
I'm so glad that you're doing it, because this whole thing is very overwhelming, and I think it's something, just from hearing from everybody, it's something that everybody sort of is feeling, and so it's been a journey for me. My first step was to make a website, because I had no idea where to start.
Yeah.
I was like, I have my LEP now. What do I do? I guess I make a website. So I made a website, and I created sort of a branding for myself. It's Sunset Educational Psychology is the name of my practice. And I actually was listening to your podcast, and you had a guest. I think his name is Justin Alt.
Yeah, Justin Alt. Yeah.
Yes. And he was talking about, the financial aspect of it, and the S Corp and all of that. And that was the first time I even heard of those things, and started thinking about, how do I make this a real business? And so for now, I'm a sole proprietor. My goal when I'm actually out in California is to have an S Corp, and eventually, from the Launchpad this week, I'm thinking about my long-term goals, right? And
did you go yesterday? Were you there yesterday with us?
No, I was busy yesterday, but I'm planning on watching the recap of it.
Yeah. We have an audio. We actually didn't catch it on video. It didn't record. We're very bummed, but we have it on audio, so you'll get that. And there's so much in it. There's so much, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I was excited to hear that you were doing that. I wish I could have made it. But it was like a really inspirational session on Tuesday. It was just like, really, like, you can make this business what you want it to be, and you can create a business that is self-sustaining and that is profitable and meaningful and all of these things. And so, it sort of got me thinking in a different lens, and I have goals to make it an S Corp and to build it out and to have employees. But right now I'm just a sole proprietor. I'm just doing my virtual service. My next step after I made the website was to sort of begin the beginnings of marketing. I'm also looking forward to that session. But I made a Psychology Today profile, and that's where I've gotten some of my initial referrals.
Great.
And I had some endorsements from fellow colleagues. And I think that bumped up the profile a little bit. And I have, a lot of it is also community. And so I have some friends out in California who are sort of in the education, in the medical field. And so some referrals through those connections. But it's all still a work in progress, and I'm figuring it out, trying to figure it out. And so I'm really grateful that you have created this program to help all of us, figure it out, because it's hard and it's confusing. So I'm following along week to week and taking notes. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. And now that I didn't know. So now I know, and now I know you. So this is great.
I know. I feel like I know you because you're always sending emails, and I'm like, Jana sent an email.
Yeah. I know what all the emails say, but I have a team that helps me do my marketing, but we talk about, everything is coming out from me, but I'm not actually the one who does it. I don't actually have the list of emails, So,
Gotcha.
But they're from me.
Your name is in my inbox, so it's in my head. I'm me and Jana are.
We're like this. Yes, we're like exactly. This. What was I going to ask you? So, what are you using for telehealth? What's your platform that you're using?
So I'm using Simple Practice as my EMR platform.
Yeah.
And so I can use that for bookings and for scheduling, as well as they have a platform for video calls.
Yep.
So that's what I'm using so far. It's been working pretty well. It's also a learning curve. There's just a lot to learn in that whole process.
Yeah.
But it was the one that was the most user friendly to me.
That's what I use so far.
Yeah. It's interesting to have to figure out all of these things as you go.
Right.
But again, having resources has been really helpful, and I'm still figuring it all out.
Yeah, well, this is exciting for you in the beginning phases, and like doing just a different model than other people who are living in California, right? So it's really cool.
That's also,
go ahead.
Like, I have like colleagues in New York who are like, "What are you doing?"
You're like, "I'm working across the nation,
just doing some things, just exploring, figuring it out." But I think it's important to just provide this access for all the students. There's never going to be enough of us. And so like I had like a moral dilemma of like, am I taking clients from clinicians in California? And then I was like, not every client is right for virtual therapy. Not every client is right for Minecraft counseling, right? So I also want to build like a network of people that I can refer people to and just be a resource in that way as well. And so, I found that the LEP community, what I've seen of it so far is really powerful and really welcoming. And so I'm excited to be a part of it in sort of a different way.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. Welcome to California.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I really want to hear about the other thing I think you have to share, which is you have written a book.
I have written a book. This is actually the copy that I have been meaning to mail to you. So I wrote a book called A Kid's Book About Learning. And I wrote it with a publishing company called A Kids Co. And they have a series, and it's a kid's book about blank, right? And it's all topics that might seem advanced for kids or challenging for kids. So they have like a kid's book about cancer, a kid's book about adoption, a kid's book about like almost any topic you can think of that you might want to have a conversation about with a child about. They have a book for it. And I first came across them back in 2020 because they released a kid's book about COVID as a free resource for people to, have a really difficult conversation with their kids about what is happening in the world. And so I pitched them the idea of a kid's book about learning, and we made it, and it came out recently.
That's so cool. So, you just like have it. Well, how like innovative and resourceful of you to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to reach out to this publishing company and ask them if they want to do a kid's book about learning. Like literally, that's what you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Because I was like, the idea stemmed from conversations that I have with parents every day. And it's like, how do I tell my kid that they have a learning disability? How do I talk about the fact that they're going to get services now? How do I have this conversation? And something that I really appreciated about this company is that all of their books start with better together. This book is best read together, grown up and kid. And so I think of it as a resource for the parents as much as it is for the kids.
Right.
And so I guess this also reminds me of the class on Tuesday. Like I saw a need and I was like, let's write a book to answer that question.
Yeah.
And so, we wrote this book, and it just talks about the different types of learners that there are, and that everybody has strengths and weaknesses and areas that we can all grow, and that's okay, and that's great, and that's what makes the world interesting. And so yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I hope that it can be useful for our families and just be a conversation starter and just further the work that we're already doing.
Yeah, absolutely. How do people get the book?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon. It's also on Barnes and Noble. It's linked on my website, which is sunseteducationalpsychology.com. So you can get it at all of those places. And I encourage people to check out the other books as well. If there's a topic that one of your students or one of your kids, a particular topic that they need support in, they most likely have a book about it. And so I would encourage everyone to check out their other books as well. So it's a really great company.
Oh, cool. So, okay, this is like a business question. You don't have to get too detailed, but you publish this book. Do you get do they pay you for creating the book? Do you get royalties on the book sales? How does that work?
So you get royalties on the book sales. It's different breakdowns based on the format that it's purchased in. Currently, it's only being sold in the hardcover format. And they give you, as an author, 25 copies of the book. And this, it's like a new version of self-publishing. So there is an initial investment on my part. And then, you obtain royalties on all the sales, and they promote it on their website. And I'm working on getting an affiliate link for you. I'm hoping to get that all set up. But yeah, it's a really interesting way to get the things that are important to you out to other people.
Yeah. So there's an initial investment on the part of the author. It's not like they're paying you to make the book. You're paying them kind of to make the book, but they already have the marketing and they do everything for it.
Exactly. They do everything. They do the design of the book. You put in, they seek authors who are in the fields of the topic, right? So they even have had children as the authors of different books. And so, they take care of all of the publishing of it, the marketing of it, and you just put in the content and promote, to the extent that you want to.
Yeah. How cool. Very cool. Yeah.
It's been a really fun journey. And I had a really great editor, Emma Wolf. She was wonderful to work with and really supported me in the process. And I think we created a really helpful tool for our families.
Yeah, I thought it was great. So, I mean, it's very you speak in the school psychology language, it was very, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just born out of the conversations that I have every day. So
totally. That's what it was. I love it. Well, you were just in the start of your kind of LEP and entrepreneurial journey, but you obviously have an entrepreneurial spirit. What do you, even though this is new for you, what kind of guidance or advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about getting or using their LEP?
Yeah, I think in terms of getting, I would say go for it. There's no harm in getting it. And the test is doable. I went into it very, very nervous and prepared to fail. And I managed to do it with, a good amount of preparation, but there's also not that much out there to prepare with. And so I would say, trust your experience and trust that you have something that, people need. And so it's worth giving it a try, and if it works, then amazing. It doesn't have to be something that's as huge as, maybe a company that has a ton of employees. But just even doing some sessions here and there, it'll make a difference in a child's life. And I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, yeah, Kierra, it was so great to have you on. Thank you so much. I've learned so much, and now I get to see you every week. So that's great.
Yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait for next week.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited too. And I'm just excited for you and your journey. You're doing something different. I hope I see you at NASP. You let me know if you put in a talk.
I'm going to look into it.
Yeah, you should do it. Like, that is so unique. And I think people are looking for different ways to solve a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining me on the Empower LEP podcast. And it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Thank you for listening to the Empower LEP podcast. Episodes can be found at empowerlep.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to connect. I would love to learn more. I can be found at jana@empowerlep.com.